All right, we're going to go ahead and get started today. So we're looking for the situation that does not represent a proportional relationship. So what'd y'all come up with? Okay, I'm hearing B. Anybody pick A for curiosity?
Yeah, that's what I had. I had A first too.
Okay, so why'd y'all go against A? Because you see the word plus.
But this is church.
Ah, good catch. It does say per. So even though you see a plus here, it's talking per box. This is also per box, which means that this does not necessarily tell us that this is correct. So why is B our answer then? What led y'all to choosing B for sure?
It has like another one-time fee.
So how do you know it's a one-time fee?
Because it just says base and stuff.
All right, y'all get that? Is there any questions on that? All right. Now you guys get to tell me. All right, so this first one, what is it? Yeah, I'll even switch colors, make it easy. What about this next one? What about the next one? This one? What about the one right below that? Oh, yeah, I'm moving you around a little bit. What about this one next to it? And this one? What about this one? What about the one right below that? What about this one? What about this one? What about this one? What about the one right below it? What about the one next to that? That one? That one? What about the one right below it? What about this one? So, do I have a grouping of dots that's in that area? So there's enough. We actually had this exact same discussion in first period because that was the original thought, is that it was either none or positive. So the fact that this is so weak and there's not enough dots in a cluster, we're going to actually say it's none. All right, what about this one? And the last one? All right, was there any questions on any of these? Y'all good with all those answers? Okay. We're on page 159. And I'm going to do this a little different than I did first period because they were a little squirrely today. I'm not sure why. All right, so when we have scatter plots, they're demonstrating a linear relationship. So we want the ones that are more in a straight line. They're all kind of clumped together in a kind of a line. So we can use, if it's linear, what kind of line can we use? Yeah, we can use a straight line to show the general pattern of the data. A trend line, also known as a line of best fit, is a straight line that should be as close as possible to the points of data in the scatter plot. That means I want it to basically be right on top of all of my data. Y'all good with that? So here's my first question. We're looking through 1 through 4. Is this a good trend line? Yes or no, and why? Y'all good with that? So is number 1 a good trend line? So here's our trend line. Here's our data. Do these overlap? Did I do the exact same line, just two different colors? Real quick, what's my trend line? What slope? What's my points? What kind of slope? Are those two the same? Are they the same? Is that the same? If I have a positive and negative, is that the same? So how could that be a good trend line if it's not even the same slope? Would it be a good trend line if it's not even the same slope? No. That's a no. Why is it a no? The line isn't even on the points. Guys, if your trend line doesn't even cross the majority of your points, it only hits like maybe one, that's not a good trend line. If you're only hitting 1 point and you're not even in the middle of any points, that's not a good trend line. That's in the middle of what? 4 points maybe? And how many points do we have up there? We got a whole lot more than 4. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We have 13. And you're telling me going through 4 is the majority? No, it doesn't even make sense. All right, what about my next one? Is this a good trend line? So let's check it. So we have our trend line. And we have our points. Hey, looky. What happened to my trend line that time? It got covered up, right? So is this a good trend line? How come?
Because it got covered up.
Yeah, like it got covered up. So why don't we say it just covers most of our points? All right. What about this next one? Is this a good trend line? How come? So remember, this is our trend line. This is our stuff. These are the majority of our points. Where's my trend line located? All right, so if I was to draw on a trend line, where would you want me to draw it? So what if I do something like that? Would that be a good trend line? If you want, go ahead and draw that in. Just make sure you're marking it as new. When you draw a trend line, you want it to go through as many points as possible. What about number 4? Is that a good trend line? Why not? So now, this is at the bottom of our points. So where would a good trend line be? So what if I draw it above it? Just make sure that if you do draw in a new one, that you do write in new. Now you know that, hey, this trend line's better, this is why. How are we doing so far? Now, this is something that I really like that Pine Tree does. When I taught at Hallsville and we actually taught trend lines, we, as a team, actually just taught it as you needed to go through the middle of the points. And you try to find the most points that you can go through the middle of, and that's the line of best fit. Now, what this school does and my new team does, they actually find the slope of the general points, and that's how they actually come up with a trend line, which is something I actually like a little better because then you actually have a good scientific way to study it and to figure it out. It's not just guesstimating. So how they do that is they find rise over run, also known as, what's rise over run? Slope. It took first period forever to remember that. All right, so what do I call B? What's my B? It's not base. M is our slope, so we have y equals what? So what's the B then? We're looking at the y-axis to find the what?
Oh, the y-intercept.
Y-intercept. So we're actually going to use our trend line and figure out our slope. Y'all good with that? Y'all are actually going to help me. Alrighty. So, what is our B? Where does it cross the y-axis? So it crosses right here. So this point is 0, 8. Alright, what is the next time that it crosses through the middle of our lovely little lines? So I'm looking for this point right there. So remember, we go right and left before we go up and down. So it's 3, 7. Yes, ma'am. Y'all are right. You just had it flip-flopped. Okay, now, how much are we going up?
7. Whoa.
We're going from here to here. How much is that? Now, if I'm going here to here to here, I can bring that down to the bottom, go 1, 2, 0. So how much did I actually going? Over. 3. Because I've got 1 space, 2 spaces, 3 spaces. Y'all good with that? So I can do y is equal to, is this a positive slope or a negative slope? And boom, we're done. Questions? Y'all thought we were gonna be done with this, didn't you? Yeah, some of math actually comes right back in. All right, so on the next one, what's my B? 100. So I'm going to go ahead and throw in my X, go and throw in my Y, rise, run. All right, this time, what's my graph going by?
50.
So I have 0, and here's 0. What's in between 0 and 50?
25.
Oh, go ahead and fill in your graph real quick. Okay, so y'all told me we're crossing at 100. Where's my next crossing point?
Would it be 25?
And yes, I'm going ahead and marking my graph over and down. That way it's a little easier for us. How much am I going up to? 25. How much am I traveling over? 2. Now, I can leave this as 25 over 2. However, if your STAR test is not one where you fill it in, but instead you're looking for one that matches, if you don't see a 25 over 2, what could you do? Simplify, which is to do what? Divide. What goes on the inside? Or what goes first in your calculator? 25. We always want to do top divided by bottom. So you get 12.5x plus 100, or 12 5/10. Any questions? Simple so far? All right, let's do it again. Where does it cross my y-axis? How'd you know it's 45? Goes by fives. So go ahead and fill in your graph. So we have 45. Is this a positive slope or a negative slope? Negative. You're right the first time. So, where's my next point that I could go ahead and get? I could do 3 and 15, but that's going to be a lot of work to simplify. Especially since right now all your calculators are put up. How much? Yeah, I like that one. So what's my rise? How much am I going up total?
45. 35. Wait. 35.
I'm hearing a few different answers here.
35.
Remember, I'm just going point to point.
2. 50.
What is it? 5? Kingston, what were you saying over there? Why are you saying 10?
There's 35 plus 10 plus 45.
Y'all see that? So remember, I can still do this and get my rise that way. If you just count it, you may make the mistake of just going 1, 2 instead of going 5, 10. So be wary. All right, how much am I going over?
1.
Yeah, I'm just going over 1. So what's 10 divided by 1? 10. Now, could I have written this like this? Yeah, I could have. It technically could be correct. All right, is there any questions? All right, once you're done, flip your page. All right. So we have Riley here. She's going to choose the points 180 and 2 and 30. Do you think she's going to be successful? Okay. So why wouldn't she be successful? So it's not a straight line. Okay. So why don't we figure out the actual equation of the line? So where does it cross the y-axis? 90. So I can say plus 90. Is this going to be a positive slope or a negative slope? So I go ahead and write my negative. So where else does it cross?
The 170.
1 and 70? I like that one. So how do I get from 70 to 90?
Plus 20.
Plus 20. Remember, if you're not sure, you can always subtract them. 9 minus 7 is just 2. Now, how much am I going over? Just 1. So it's 20 over 1. 20. Now, if she would have done hers, she would have ended up with 50 because 30 minus 80 is a negative 50 over 1. Because I would have done this. I would have went 30 minus 80 over 2 minus 1 and gotten negative 50 over 1. So why was she wrong?
She didn't, without she put where you wanted to trim on.
You got it. I'm going to change it to points though. So for those of you who didn't hear him, he said the dots were not on the trend line. So I just changed the wording to points. Anybody have any questions? Y'all good? All right, what do y'all think on number 9? Question. What kind of slope does letter A have, or what kind of association?
That one's out.
What about letter B? Where would that start? Origin. What about letter C? Oh, it's a positive slope. Does it start at the origin? No, it starts right there. So could that be it? So we'll put question mark. What about letter D? Yeah, we got a negative slope. So the only one possible would be C. And check it out. We can just write C above because there's our explanation. Am I going to make y'all write a whole lot of stuff? No. A lot of y'all already don't like math as it is. If I make y'all write, suddenly you'd really hate it. All right. Anybody need more time on this one? Or am I good to move it up? All right. I'm going to hope I'm good to move it up. Okay. What's the y-intercept here?
6.
What's the y-intercept talking about?
Test scores.
Test scores. All right, so let's go read our stuff. It says Mrs. Hamilton surveyed some of her students by asking how many minutes they spent studying for their math test and the score they made on the math test. Ooh. So if they didn't study at all, at least they made a 60. All right. So what do you think the slope's going to be talking about?
How many minutes each, like, minutes did they use?
How about this? Why don't we figure out the slope? So what's our next point?
57.
So I'm going to make a nice little curved line over here and a nice over here. So how do I get from 60 to 70?
Plus 2.
So I'm going to do rise over run. So I have 10. Now look here. How do I get from 0 to 15?
Plus, or minus, or plus
15. So this actually simplifies to 2 out of the 3. So what's happening here? What's the rise talking about? What's the rise talking about? Look at your graphs. And what's your test score usually measured in?
10.
When you get a grade, what's your grade in? Is it?
Numbers.
It's a what, Kennedy? It's a percent, right? Now, what's our run talking about?
The minute.
Yeah. So when I'm looking at this, I've got 2% for what? Yeah. So it's going up 2% for every 3 minutes studied. Y'all get how we've got that? So, then our lovely equation is 2 over 3x plus 60. All right, is there any questions on anything? All right, that means the rest of the time right now is yours. You have 15 minutes.
How long?
15.